My fiancée called off our wedding 3 days before the ceremony. Then I found out why. I never thought I'd be the guy posting one of these stories online. Honestly, I used to read Reddit relationship posts and think, there's no way people miss that many red flags. Turns out, when you love someone long enough, you can explain away almost anything. I'm 32 now. My ex-fiancée, Natalie, is 30. We were together for 7 years. And until 2 months ago, I genuinely believed I was about to marry the love of my life. We met when I was 25, and she was 23 at a mutual friend's birthday party. She was loud, funny, confident. One of those people who could walk into a room and instantly become the center of attention without even trying. I was basically the opposite. Quiet, reserved, predictable, but somehow it worked. Or at least I thought it did. The first few years of our relationship were honestly great. We struggled financially together, moved between tiny apartments, adopted a rescue dog named Benny, and slowly built a stable life. Natalie was the kind of person who made ordinary moments feel exciting. Even grocery shopping somehow became fun with her. And when we got engaged 2 years ago, I truly thought I had won at life. Looking back now, I think the problems started long before I noticed them. Not huge things, small shifts, tiny emotional distances that are easy to ignore when you're busy building a future with someone. Natalie became more attached to social media over time. At first it was harmless. Travel photos, couple selfies, TikTok trends. Then eventually her entire personality started revolving around online validation. Everything became content. Our dinners, vacations, arguments, even private moments somehow became filtered through what looked good online. If I didn't want to take 20 photos for Instagram, she'd get irritated. If I wasn't enthusiastic enough in videos, she'd accuse me of killing the vibe. Still, none of that felt serious enough to question the relationship. People change. I figured this was just modern life. About a year before the wedding, Natalie became friends with a guy from work named Jason. And before anyone asks, yes, I know how predictable that sounds now. At first, she barely mentioned him. Then suddenly, it was constant. Jason said this. Jason listens to this band. Jason thinks you'd love this restaurant. You know that feeling when someone slowly enters your relationship emotionally before you fully realize it's happening? Yeah, that. I brought up once. Not accusingly, just casually. And Natalie immediately became defensive. He's literally just a coworker. So I dropped it. Because I trusted her. Or maybe because I didn't want to seem insecure. Wedding planning became stressful around the same time. And honestly, Natalie changed during that year. She became colder somehow, more critical. Every small disagreement turned into a huge fight. Apparently, I wasn't romantic enough anymore, or spontaneous enough, or emotionally available enough. No matter what I did, it felt like I was failing invisible tests I didn't even know I was taking. Meanwhile, I was working overtime constantly trying to help pay for the wedding she wanted. The venue, the photographer, the designer dress, the destination honeymoon. I drained most of my savings making that wedding happen. Because I loved her. 3 weeks before the wedding, things got weird. Really weird. Natalie started guarding her phone constantly, taking calls in other rooms, sleeping with the screen face down beside her pillow. And every time I asked if something was wrong, she'd smile and say, just stressed. Then came the moment I should have listened to my gut. About 10 days before the wedding, I woke up around 2 a.m. and noticed she wasn't in bed. I found her downstairs, sitting in the kitchen, texting someone. The second she saw me, she locked her phone. Immediately, that tiny movement changed something inside me. I asked who she was talking to. She laughed awkwardly and said, Jessica from work. At 2 in the morning. Sure, I didn't push further. But for the first time in 7 years, I felt genuinely suspicious of her. 3 days before the wedding, I came home from work early, and I knew something was wrong immediately. Natalie was sitting on the couch, crying. Her suitcase was beside her. I remember my stomach dropping before she even spoke. Then she said words that honestly still replay in my head constantly. I don't think I can do this. At first I thought she meant wedding anxiety. Cold feet. Normal panic. Then she said, "It wouldn't be fair to marry you when I'm confused." Confused. I asked what that meant. And after about 30 seconds of horrible silence, she admitted it. She had feelings for Jason. I genuinely felt like all the oxygen left my body. Apparently, they'd become emotionally close over the past year. According to her, nothing physical had happened. Sure, but she said she needed space to figure herself out. 3 days before our wedding, after 7 years together, after our families flew in, after tens of thousands of dollars were already spent, I honestly don't remember much of the next hour. It felt like an out-of-body experience. I remember asking if she loved him, and she whispered, "I don't know." That hurt more than if she just said yes, because uncertainty somehow feels crueler. Then she left, just like that. 1 minute, I was about to get married. The next, I was standing alone in our apartment, staring at half-packed wedding decorations. Telling our families was humiliating, especially because Natalie barely spoke to anyone afterward. So naturally, everyone came to me for explanations I didn't fully have myself. My mother cried harder than I did. Her dad apologized to me repeatedly, like it was somehow his fault. Meanwhile, Natalie disappeared almost completely. The first week after everything collapsed was honestly the darkest period of my life. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I lost 12 pounds in less than a month. Everywhere I looked reminded me of her. The coffee mugs we bought together, the dog she insisted on adopting, the wedding suit hanging in the closet. Even Benny kept waiting near the front door every evening for her to come home. That part destroyed me. Then about 2 weeks later, I made a horrible mistake. I checked her social media, and there she was, at a rooftop bar, with Jason, smiling, looking happier than I'd seen her look in months. I remember physically shaking staring at those photos, because suddenly everything became clear. This wasn't sudden confusion. This had been building for a long time. And the realization that she emotionally left the relationship long before she physically walked away absolutely crushed me. A few days later, one of Natalie's bridesmaids reached out to me privately. And honestly, I wish she hadn't. Because apparently multiple people knew something was going on between Natalie and Jason. Not physical necessarily, but emotional. Apparently co-workers had noticed how close they'd become months ago. Long lunches, constant texting, private jokes, and nobody told me. Do you know how humiliating it feels finding out you were the last person aware your relationship was dying? I started replaying the last year of my life obsessively. Every fight, every distant moment, every canceled date night. And suddenly I realized something painful. I had spent an entire year trying to save a relationship she was already emotionally leaving. About a month later, Natalie finally asked to meet in person. Part of me wanted to refuse, but another part desperately needed closure. We met at a small cafe near our old apartment. And honestly, she looked awful, like genuinely emotionally wrecked. She cried almost immediately, said she never meant to hurt me, said she still loved me, said she felt lost and overwhelmed before the wedding. Then she admitted something that honestly changed how I viewed everything. She said, "I think I kept waiting to feel excited about marrying you again, and I never did." That sentence hurt more than the cheating, because excitement fades sometimes in long relationships. That's normal. Real love eventually becomes stability, comfort, partnership. But somewhere along the way, Natalie started confusing temporary excitement with actual love. And Jason represented excitement, newness, attention, fantasy. I asked her if leaving me was worth it, and she started sobbing, but she never answered, which honestly was answer enough. The hardest part is that I still loved her for a long time afterward, even after the humiliation, even after the betrayal, because love doesn't disappear overnight just because someone hurts you. That's the ugly reality nobody talks about enough. You can fully understand someone destroyed your heart and still miss them anyway. For weeks afterward, I kept blaming myself. Maybe I worked too much. Maybe I stopped trying romantically. Maybe I became boring. But therapy eventually helped me realize something important. A healthy person communicates unhappiness before emotionally investing elsewhere. They don't wait until 3 days before a wedding to destroy someone's life. And honestly, that realization probably saved me, because I finally stopped romanticizing what happened. She didn't just follow her heart. She handled things selfishly and cowardly. Those two things can both be true at once. The wedding was supposed to happen 6 weeks ago. Instead, I spent that weekend alone in my brother's cabin drinking whiskey and trying not to think about what my life had become. And weirdly enough, that's where things started changing. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't building my life around someone else's expectations. No wedding plans, no pressure, no constant emotional tension, just silence. And honestly, the silence felt peaceful. Painful, but peaceful. I've started rebuilding slowly since then. Going to the gym again, seeing friends more, sleeping better. Some days still suck. Some mornings I wake up angry all over again. But I'm beginning to realize something. I wasn't grieving the relationship as much as I was grieving the future I thought I was going to have. And those are two very different things. Update. It's been about 8 months since my original post, and honestly, life looks completely different now. A lot happened. First, Natalie and Jason didn't last. Shocking, I know. Apparently, once the excitement and secrecy disappeared, reality hit pretty fast. From what mutual friends told me, they lasted maybe 4 months officially before things imploded. I'd be lying if I said hearing that didn't satisfy some petty part of me. But weirdly enough, it didn't make me feel better the way I thought it would. By the time I heard about their breakup, I was already emotionally somewhere else. Therapy helped a lot, probably more than anything. Not because it magically erased the pain, but because it forced me to confront uncomfortable truths about myself too. Like how much of my identity had become tied to being needed. I ignored red flags because I was terrified of losing the future I imagined. I confused loyalty with self-sacrifice. And honestly, I spent years trying to keep someone happy who probably would never have been fully happy no matter what I did. About 3 months ago, Natalie reached out again. This time not crying, not emotional, just honest. She apologized properly for the first time. Not the vague, "I'm sorry you got hurt" kind of apology. A real one. She admitted she emotionally cheated long before leaving. Admitted she handled everything horribly. Admitted she was chasing feelings instead of reality. And surprisingly, I forgave her. Not because I wanted her back. I don't. But because carrying that anger was exhausting. And holding on to resentment felt like letting the worst moment of my life continue controlling me. The biggest surprise, though, I met someone. Her name's Olivia. And before anyone says it, no, this isn't one of those instant fairy tale rebound stories. Actually, the reason it works is because it feels calm. Easy. There's no chaos. No emotional games. No constant need for validation. Just honesty. The first time we went to dinner, she spent more time asking questions about me than talking about herself. And weirdly enough, that almost made me emotional. Because I'd forgotten what it felt like to be genuinely seen by someone. We've been together 2 months now. Slowly. Healthfully. And for the first time in years, I don't feel emotionally exhausted all the time. Sometimes I still think about the life I almost had. The wedding. The house we planned. The future kids we named. But honestly, I don't miss Natalie anymore. I miss the idea of who I thought she was. And those are not the same thing. If there's one thing this entire disaster taught me, it's this. Some people leave your life because they're meant to. And sometimes the most painful endings are actually the beginning of the life you were supposed to have all along.